But I think it is. So I'll say, there we go. I do believe we're live. So we'll say, indeed, and greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. What a dear pleasure it is to have you here again on another conscious evolution. Another opportunity for us to consider the reason we do things. That is like the gist of what I want to talk about today. Are we going to be messing around with some filters? I had people literally complain yesterday, but I don't know if I am capable of taking feedback. No, I'm in fact not, because I like this. This makes me happier than having closet doors behind me does, right? So yeah. The reason, yeah, you know what? Let's go straight into it with like the reason that I like this is because it's pretty, and I get to see it too, right? That's the thing. That's like one of the big things. I also see. That's my reason. Doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Today's stream topic is about the reasons we have. I just finished my yoga class with the friends. And of course, we try and share the centering thought that we go through for the day in the yoga as well. And as we were going deeper and deeper through this yoga practice, it just became apparent to me how many layers of reasoning there is. How many different versions of you have to consult, essentially. How many influences you have. I think that's the best way to say it. Right? Think about the amount of influences. All of those things do affect your reasoning. They change your ability to decide whether or not you want to do something. Right? For example, there was this one moment in the stream where I reached this point in the perspective of the warrior pose, that like there's a literal warrior pose, and then it transitions into a pose of surrender, right? And the one is powerful, and the one is collapsed, right? With your nape exposed. If you were in battle, you would be dead, all right? Kind of vibes. And there is again this transition where you literally go from that state of surrendering to the state of being the warrior, right? Not surrendering, fighting for whatever it's worth, right? Fighting tooth and nail as a perspective. And the connection for me today in that whole perspective is that the warrior in me, the reason in me in that way, right? That the reason for the warrior in me is motivation, is hopes and dreams, is this ambition for what I know the future can be, what I hope my future will be, right? And then the part of me that has to surrender, like to bend the knee, right? Bow my head in servitude to kind of vibes, is society, the world, the free market, right? That if I don't kind of like bow the knee for that part of reality, I'll just die. Right? No matter how noble as a warrior I am, right? No matter how noble my ambitions or how great my hopes for humanity, right? If I don't do the things, if I don't surrender some part of myself, some part of my, I want to use the word standards almost. And I'm almost like trying to understand what I mean by that as well. Is that I feel it would be awesome if we as a species could reach the standard at which food and housing and medical services were accessible, let's say. Doesn't have to be free. but it has to be infinitely accessible, right? And that will drive down prices at the very least. Jan Boetes. That is a very Afrikaans naam. Oh, it's nice having you here, Jan. Ek is ook Afrikaans. So ek weet nie hoekom ek dit so gesê het nie. At this point, I'm pretty much an English-speaking person, though. So, hello, Jan. It's nice to have you here. Today, we're considering, maybe you've been here the whole time and been a part of the conversation, but we're considering our reasons for doing things. I've had a day where it became clear to me, ken jy Afrikaans? Yo, my bro. Ja. Ja, mos. Mos ek kan Afrikaans praat, mos kan. My ma en pa is Afrikaans, so ek het nie regtig enige verskoning. Yeah, but again, English is basically my bread and butter, the language that I prefer speaking. Hey, Nancy is here too. Hi, Melt, just joined, so I might have missed something, but I think that you surrender to. But I think what you surrender to is significant. Yeah. No, I think you're very much on point, right? So let me catch you up. We've been having a conversation today in stream about our reasons for doing things. And then in this discussion, I shared a little bit of the yoga practice we just had, where I taught my class. And then I brought the centering thought of our reasons for doing things as well. And then I was thinking about one of the poses that we do, where you go from being a warrior to surrendering, right, as a cycle. So you're literally, as a pose, balancing those two parts of yourself. The part that is the warrior, that can fight to the death, and that part of you that's willing to surrender, right, and stop the fight for the sake of survival, ideally, right? And those two parts of myself, the two parts of myself that are at odds with each other, is the part of me that has ambitions for my future, has hopes and dreams, has an idea of the life I want to lead. And then there is the part of me that has to surrender to the fact that I'm living in this world, that I am a human body, that I have financial, physical, emotional, spiritual limitations, right? There's only so much that I can do. And I don't really want to surrender to that, right? In fact, just like saying it, my mind is like, why are we surrendering? Kiefer is here too. Hey, it's nice to have you, bro. Jovan here as well. Cindy, you love it. Yeah, our reasons. And then Nancy shared that in that case, if you're gonna have to surrender to something, right, what you surrender to is significant. I'm really absorbing that as a concept because you're right. Right, then I'm like really trying to almost pinpoint in my own mind what it is I think I need to surrender to. And the thing I think I need to surrender to is the fact, at least that's the way it's presented, that we live in a world of limitation. We live in a world of scarcity. We live in a world where there's lack of things. You know? And I don't know if I'm convinced. But technically, I have to be, right? If I get locked in a box with 10 other people, and there's only 10 people's worth of food in that box every day, me being hungry won't be tolerated, or won't be appreciated at the very least. All right? So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. All right? It's this dichotomy of understanding. The ambitious part of me knows no bounds. Literally, it's attached to infinity. All right? So that's its baseline reasoning, is everything. And then there's the part of me that has to surrender, right, to the gravity, right? If I jump off a building, guess what? I'll surrender. downwards quickly. I'm sorry. But there are ways, right? Human beings are nothing if not inventive and creative, right? So that we can find some sort of way to transcend these limitations we find ourselves facing. My mind is going to the extreme of like space mining. Literally, it's like, bro, we live in an infinite universe. Why are we convinced that anything is scarce? There are a few things that are scarce. And I feel again, maybe this is a part of the hope, right? If there's any hope to be had in this whole consideration. The reason, right? One reason for us developing properly scarce assets, uh, like a truly algorithm capped coin, for example, right? If you don't know what Bitcoin is, you probably do. It's kind of one of those things at this point. But that is technically the first ever thing that existed that is truly scarce. And the hope I have, right? Because again, this has to be my reason for having hope for this thing. Because if the only reason is to make more money, right? Or to be richer than everyone else, then the reasoning is going to be like, oh, because again, America is the richest already as it is in both ways, right? In real money and also in dollars. I'm sorry, I'm poking fun, but in that way, right? Like there is this certain level of like again reason, hope that has to be found, and the hope that I find is that if we have something that is almost like digitally representable as truly scarce, then everything else in comparison will become truly infinite, right? Less than scarce. Because there's scarce on the one side, and then there's less than that which is the scarce thing. And that's the hope I have for our species, right? Because like I don't know anything. I'm so silly. I'm still learning. I still have so much to learn in that way. But I have a lot of hope, right? I got lots of hope, right? But I feel there was definitely this part of me that almost with an ill conceived notion of what hope is capable of, thought that there would be an easier path to, I want to use the word almost like conviction, convincing. You ever try convincing someone of something? You ever try convincing someone of something that are already convinced they don't want to be convinced by you? As soon as you try and convince someone of something, that's usually the type of conviction they find, instead of being convinced of the thing you're trying to convince them of. Right? And then I'm like a person, and I'm like, aware of these dynamics of being a human being. And how can I hope to try and solve our problems as a species? As just one of me. I can't. But I can help. Right? And I can decide what I want to surrender to. Realizing that, as Nancy said, it is something significant. Drive-by lovin's from Kristen. What a lovely Monday morning to rush around from oversleeping. The rushing around part doesn't sound that great, admittedly. But huzzah for those extra few minutes you slept. Right? We should take our small wins where we can. I'm happy you're here, even if you're only going to be here for a moment. That looks like it has been vaped once. I will not throw it away without trying at least again. The youth is the hope of the world. Yes, I hope not. Not from the perspective of I don't hope that our youth are going to be in a way where they're the hope of our world, right? In fact, right, if the youth cure cancer and, right, implement universal basic income for our species, right? Like, I'm all for that. What I'm not for is believing that our only hope for the world is the youth. Because there's less and less of them. And there will be less of them next year still. And there will be less of them the year after that. And there will be less of them still. Right? Which means that in that context, and I know that I am jumping to conclusions here, Dream Tooth. That's what we do sometimes, bro, just to have fun with it. Our hope will diminish generation after generation. Unless something radically changes, of course. Right? And it's, again, feasible for people to start having children. I don't know if it's possible to reverse that trend, though. Huh? You ever think about the fact that you will see peak humans? We might have already. Some people predict it's going to be by 2030. We're going to be peak humans. The last extra humans will be made, kind of vibes. And then the population curve will start going down again. And if not for robotics, and that's why robotics has to happen, right? It's not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of has to. Like, a moral imperative level, like, nothing will be working at all 50 years from now if we don't robots, right? And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. What's the reason, right? Again, thinking about it from that perspective, what's the reason for that? People aren't having kids. People are not having children. Hi. Hey, Jesus. It's nice having you here. Come and have a seat. We're talking about why people aren't having kids, bro. They have good reason. Today's stream topic is about reason. They have good reason to not want to be having kids right now. Right? Right? I saw something today where Russia was offering, I think, women up until the age of 15, 750 or 950 pounds per child that they bring into the world. Right? They're literally now, this financial incentive. I think in Korea, certain companies will pay their employees something like $75,000 per child they bring into the world. And that's like just like this surface being like scratched, right? You know, the cracks starting to form and you looking underneath the tumultuous background. We're already too little people, technically, in the world. Especially as it relates to I want to use the word like know-how, right? The average person has access to more information than ever, but probably knows less. It depends on how long you go back as well. That's the other side of it. Education. I'm very anti-education for what it's worth. Jay Zeal, yo, I haven't seen that name in forever. It's so nice seeing you now. Hello, friends and Mel. Been a while since I last tuned in. It's true, and here we are again. Still doing it, Jay Zeal. Still showing up. Still being here. Best is subjective. Yeah, it's true. It is true. Yeah, we're talking about our reasons for things, Jaziel. About our reasons, right? And the reason why we need to have robots, and the reason why we need AI, right? And like when I say we don't have enough people, it's a matter of like the numbers, right? To make the numbers make sense, we need more people, a lot more, making a lot more things. Right, and eating them too, of course. Not eating the people, people eating things, please. What's wrong with us? Chazio, hey friend, hey, Cold Zeller, joining us too. We got friends in chat. Melt is trying to convince us we need robots and need AI. No, I'm not trying to convince you. I'm giving you reasons. I'm giving you reasons. It's like a matter of momentum, right? Because it's one thing to already, because Melt is AI. Maybe. AI hippie bot. Maybe I am. I might be. You don't know. You don't know. But in this in exact moment, in fact I am, and by that definition, boom, point proven. You've been convinced, Hoopy. You've been convinced because here you are. All right. So the point I want to make, I know South African, ek ook, ek is 'n Suid-Afrikaner. Umunsani, ukumtazi, masuko. I'm so sorry. I live in South Africa, but I still butcher people's names. Got me some slack. And the owner of the mini hand pump operation. Bruh, if I had, like talking about this is I'm trying to get to this point, but I'm struggling. If I had the same level of resources, right? So that's the point we have to kind of consider. Is that yes, right? There are a lot of people on Earth right now. And that might cause you concern if you're amongst the people that believe overpopulation is a potential problem, right? And then if you're a business owner on the extreme end, right, you seeing population go down is a very bad thing for your bottom line. Because if there's not a population increase in the same exponential as you want your bottom line to increase, right, you will see your market value lose. You will see yourself lose market value. There we go. Yeah, English is hard, okay? Right, and in that way, it is like a fractal of, sure, we don't care if the corporate companies get wrecked because there's not enough people. But the way that I see it is that it's not just about the fractal of like one overpopulation and there not being enough stuff and these companies, but the actual lives, right? Like we're already here, the billions of us. And then there is like a very small minority of people, right? A few 100 million that live a life of relative comfort, right? The quality of life, the standard of living you have reached is a direct result because of the wealth you have been able to create in the age and the era that you created it in, right? With the amount of people that there were in this rapid population explosion, right? So as these curves were actively happening in front of us, right? Like think about that, right? If you're older than 30, right? Just in that way, like let's actually do the GPT research. Hey, Google. No, this is not freaking Google, bro. Relax yourself. We're talking about population and the population curve. And I'm curious, how many people were on the Earth 30 years ago? Right? So if you're 30 years old right now, just 30 years old, in your lifetime, since you have been born onto Earth, you would have existed along. I'm trying to give us some gap. There we go. Since 1995, the world population in 1995 was 5.7 billion, and it's now 8 billion in 2022, right? So in the 30 years you've been alive, potentially 2.3 billion people have been born, right? And those 2.3 billion people could add as like metrics, as like health signals to that market. And then that market creates value, right? But by the time you were actually an adult in that way, right? 12 years had passed already, and all of that growth had happened almost before you were even like a market participant, right? 18 years old, you could earn a salary or whatever, right? And then you stop that. You suddenly just stop that. You stop that population growth and all of the stuff that came with it and all of the uplifting of the people that lived in that era. You just stop that, And it's not good. It's very not good. It's very concerning, really quickly. All right, in that way, because again, and this is the point. The not good part is not. It might not be that not good for you, right? Because you're already a 30-year-old. But if you're one of the 1-year-olds, your ability to create better quality of life with exponentially less people and no other means of adding that market value, right, which AI and robots will bring, you're gonna live in destitute. You're gonna be a mud person your entire existence, right? At least statistically, you're significantly more likely to be a mud person. And maybe you would thrive being a mud person, but I wouldn't want to be a mud person. And if I had a child, I wouldn't want him to have to mud person either, right? So if I have that level of respect for myself and for my potential child, then we should want that for all our people, right? And in that way, it is a problem, right? There's reasons people are starting to like kind of like ring the alarm bells about that stuff too. Oh, so much love, Joe. Ascendant. You didn't include yourself, Jojo. Beat cat. My cat is Carol. Just call me Carol. Should I test you how to say it a bit, Carol? My name is Carol. Why did I get my cat is Carol? My name is Carol. Carol is good. Carol is a little bit easier to remember. Can people guess this? Sanbonan Ninjan. That's like saying hi, right? Sanbonan? I think maybe so. Cool Dinger, you're right. I'll remember next time. I'm grateful for you showing up now. Thank you. I will continue to, Dreamtooth. Peekaboo. Health signals equals value sound similar to the youth is the hope. I was not disagreeing with you on that part, Dreamtooth. It would be great if we could just pop out more youthers, right? Be Youtho 5,000 machines as human beings. But for reasons, we aren't, right? And those reasons are that we can't afford to, right? The population curve has already slowed down. It's already happening right in front of us, right? And that is concerning. It is concerning from the perspective of, again, the wealth creation ability on the individual level. And in that way, again, if we were only relying on our youth to be the ones that add that wealth, and you can think of it like a population bell as well, right? The ideal population distribution is like that. Then it's like mostly young people, and then middle-aged people, and then the old people up top. Right now, our bell looks like that, right? Where there's like a thickums up here, and the bell is getting smaller and smaller for the actual new people that's being put into the system. And in that way, like the young people at the bottom are supposed to support the people at the top, right? In the traditional kind of like, bottom-up feeding, us making sure society continues running, ensures that our parents can, retire or whatever. That's gonna not be possible. All right. And again, that's what I mean with, if not for AI and robotics, the whole thing is gonna collapse, right? And we're gonna go back to at least not dark ages, but it's gonna be a kind of Wild West, right? And there's gonna be these massive corporations that have already amassed significant amounts of wealth and assets and vehicles and potential loyalty from the people that they have employed prior. So it is not going to be a good time for anybody involved if we don't figure out some way to solve the problem. We got some bad power right now, it seems. The weather is heavy. It has been raining out there. Sanbunyan means hello, how are you? It's true. Ninjan. Sanbunan Ninjan. I'm good. How are you doing, friend? I was born 1995 and guilty as charged about being child-free. Yeah. It's true, Jazil. And if you, again, right, for you to like even think about having a child right now, thinking about the state of reality is very unlikely, right? There's so many reasons not to. The reasons to and the reasons not to are becoming ill-distributed, right? And that's already clear. It's already been happening. Like it's too late in that way, right? It's done. It's done. It happened. We're we're not going to 100 billion, 1 trillion human beings. We're not, unless we become like truly spacefaring, truly spacefaring, and we figure out like some really good synthetic biology, and then we like morph ourselves into whole new creatures, and we go and live in environments that we were never supposed to as normal human beings. Then maybe we'll go trillions of human beings. But yeah, we're not going to do that on Earth, right? And that worry was something that a lot of people were, in the same way, ringing alarm bells around. Like, oh yeah, everybody's going to starve. I choose less. I choose more. Always. You know me. You know me, Hoopy. JZil, 1993, kid free. I don't regret it, but damn, do I respect my mama and papas out there? Yeah, exactly. Agree, Joe. Salute to them, the responsible ones. It's hard already as it is. I have no kids, but work 2 jobs. Yeah. Imagine having dependents, right? That you had to feed food and clothe. And then if you had to go and work, you had to hire a babysitter potentially, which also costs money. Yes, you're right. Uh, naze, naze nabale means you're also so beautiful. Thank you. I got born, and then I looked like this and stuff. It was hard work. I had to keep eating food and stuff day by day, sleeping and stuff. Just it was tough, but here I am, beautiful and stuff. I'm like, I hope it's clear that I'm not actually saying those things. I'm more like poking fun at the fact that I didn't have to do any work at all. I like being praised for the difficult stuff, like the hard stuff that I appreciate. Like going down rabbit holes in my mind. The reason I don't want, and like again, it's basically impossible. But I don't want the reason I get to make a success of my life to be because I was pretty. Right? And again, why? Why do I feel why do I have that reason in me to not want that? I don't know. I think it's pride. It's pride. 100% pride. I'm too proud. I want to get there by hard work or whatever. Being valued, truly being valued. And I think it's also a matter of almost like trying to escape that value system inside myself as well, because as soon as that becomes something that other people value, it's so easy for it to become something that you value as well. You know? You know what I mean? I think you do. Or at least you should nod. Yeah, like you do. Yeah. Yes, of course, of course, of course, yeah, of course. Reasons. Who's copying my emoticon's angry face? I don't know. Let me see if I'm missing anything here. Doesn't look like it. Ukundla ukumnandi means the food is yummy. Look at us learning things today. Unfortunately, I won't remember any of these. I think it's rough enough that I speak 2 languages. And I'm one of those that I'm like basically waiting for the babble fish. I'm waiting for a small little thing to put in my brain or in my ear that just automatically translates what you're saying. You can speak whatever language you want, and I understand you. A little translator. '93. Unayo imoto means, do you have a car? No, I don't. I just give off the idea that I do in fact have money, but I don't have a car. I don't have a house, right? I'm like a kid, basically just trying to survive out here. Former child, right? Like I'm like 100% got that former child. That's my qualifications. I don't know why I do that. I think it's because I don't even. It's like I don't want to give myself the credence. Because if I give myself any credence, again, I have to like reason. Okay, if there's any credence whatsoever, then why don't you have a car, bro? And then I have to like reason. Oh, Jezeel just became a melter. That's nice of you, friend. Bless you. That's super cool. Let me teach you something too. You say, I like Dean Gulberry in London. They'll applaud you. Hey, Google. Dean Gulberry? Dean Gulberry is a liar. It's the first, the very first video link that I see. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. I'm like instantly confused, and it makes me angry. Scared and confusing. Intom Banzane. Intom Banzane is girl, and umfana means boy. I think I do know the umfana. Yeah. The more we know. Dingleberry? Yeah, I think it must be Dean Dingleberry. Did I say his name incorrectly? I wouldn't be surprised either. Goldberry. Dingleberry. The way our cultures approach to value concepts, I'm understanding now, it's really significantly different. It definitely is. It definitely is. And again, it's not only a cultural difference, it's like a matter of actual physical assets as well, right? Like the resources are so thick where you're from, mostly, right? If you're from the Americas or in Europe or Australia, right? Pretty much, even if you're in India, relatively speaking, the level of wealth you have access to comparatively to a country like South Africa, right, is a little bit sparse. There definitely is a massive divide between the haves and have-nots as well, right? And then the in-betweens, right? The ability for you to access that which is had already is like markedly more difficult. Means get up. Language is a functional thing is true. That's true as well, bro. I think the thing that really kind of like takes me back is again this matter of like convincing, right? Like you have to convince an employer or a client that you are adding value, right, in one way or another. And today we did talk about our reasons, right? Like there is a reason I'm sure, right? And there's a part of me that's willing to admit that there are real reasons, real reasons, and then there are my reasons, and then there are, like, I believe, maybe supernatural reasons or divine reasons for things to happen or for things not to happen, right? And it definitely is a certain level of cognitive bias where if I apply for the seventh job and don't get it, right, it's better for my heart to tell myself that the universe was sparing me the suffering that would have come, right? And then there is also clients that I have, in fact, been able to convince that my work is, in fact, valuable, but that doesn't suddenly, especially here in South Africa, make any difference to your life, right? Real difference. And it sounds like maybe there's like a certain undertone of like ungratitude, and it's not that. It's awareness. It's like awareness. It's pure objective awareness of like, yes, it's great to have a client here in South Africa that will be willing to pay me the South African rate for this work, right? But then, how many times a year are they willing to do an event or whatever so that I can actually charge my rate, right? And if we just do the math on that, even if I can charge the best South African rate that anybody can hope to charge, like the best, literally would be like $2,000 a weekend. It would be very hard to convince a client, very hard to convince a client to pay me that much, right? And then even if I do manage to convince a person to pay me that much, and I work every single event they do in the whole year, for that one client, you won't expect to like earn more than $8,000, right? For the one client I have in my mind right now, because he does 4 events per year, right? Most event organizers do 1 event per year, just the one, right? So again, in that way, I'll have to convince 3 different clients to pay me my maximum possible swingable rate. And even if I do, it'll be $12,000 a year. A year. Right? And I know that sounds like maybe a lot of money if you could just, put that in your bank account directly, but that's not how it works. That is like pure profit as well, basically, that I'm considering. That's nothing else, no internet, no services, nothing, no nothing. Right? Suddenly $12,000 is nothing. Right? It doesn't make a difference. And again, right, like, what am I supposed to do about that, Hoopy? Am I supposed to grind harder, convince better? Or is it this matter of like, yeah, I'm in South Africa, which means that that's how it is, right? This is the kind of rate you can expect to earn. And then my mind is like, that is not a solution. And then I reiterate. And I'll keep reiterating. I will not stop. At some point, I'm gonna figure something out. And you'll be here for that. That's why we're doing this, right? Day after day. We keep showing up for love. Every day. Thank you. No, now I know. God bless you. Bless you too. I think I missed a few. All right, I'm leaving. See y'all tomorrow. Cheers, Kunseller. Was nice having ya. What time is it there? Just asking. Let's start with Sigmund Freud tomorrow. I don't really know if I like Sigmund Freud's whole vibe, bro. Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung actually knew each other in real life. And they had like a falling out things because their ideas diverged too much for them to find agreement. And if I lived in that era, I would be on the Jung camp, right? I'll always be like, yo, I think you're crazy. Freud was friends with Carl Jung, it's true. Who was friends with Salvador Dali. I didn't know that part, actually, Joe. You taught me that. Hmm. Carl Jung and Salvador Dali, friends. That's awesome. What's Sigmund Freud? Sigmund Freud is a long dead psychologist? Was he a psychologist? Hey, Google. Who exactly was Sigmund Freud? Neurologist. Okay, not psychologist. Sigmund Freud was an Australian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis, a clinical method for evaluating and treating pathologies seen as orienting from conflicts in the psyche through dialogue between patient and psychoanalyst. Yeah, so like I ask you questions and I listen to what you say, and then based on what you say, I psychoanalyze you. And then I come to conclusions. Hey, what are you doing? And then I come to conclusions about your relationship with your mom. That's like kind of like simplifying the whole Sigmund Freud vibe, but that's like, if you want to be rude, that's like the gist of it. These two creatures are playing. Hey, who needs tears? Let me turn this off for a second so I can show you. This is what I just let in. Base reality suddenly. Yeah, cute, I know, but that's not the show. Yeah. Yeah. Go look up Carl Jung instead. Maybe we'll start tomorrow with Carl Jung. Freud was a psychologist who studied the subconscious. It's true. Thank you. Rihala, I'm back. Yay, Kristen. Love you again. I co-wrote a paper on Freud when I was in middle school. That was too. Yeah, I was about. That's the first thought that my mind went to, was like, you were doing Sigmund Freud in middle school. Was too early to be doing that, in my opinion, but it was interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess suddenly you're not a child anymore. Oh, my parents have problems too. Yeah. It comes a time in every child's life where they have to realize that their parents are faulty as well. I think it was in middle school too, and I definitely wasn't ready. What the hell? What's wrong with your freaking educational system? Why not start with Carl Jung? I guess it makes obvious sense. Why not start with Carl Jung? It's like, nah, maybe they'll start thinking for themselves. Maybe they'll consider what archetype they are, you know. You couldn't have that. Shouldn't have that, no. Who's allergic to something? I'm allergic to beans. I think, and I say I think like I don't know, I am allergic to cats. I think the part of me that thinks is the part of me that's not always violently allergic to them. Right? It's like a concentration thing, right? I'll be like mildly affected. Especially, like, that's why I don't like allow the cats into my personal room. But like, I'll be mildly affected in a space where the cats reside, right? And then I'll be mediumly affected if I'm like touching them with my hands, less so affected if I'm touching them with my feet. My extremities, my furthest extremities. Right? And then if I, after having touched them with my hands, happen to touch my face, then it's game over. Right? Then I'm a mess. But it has to like be very like, my nasal cavity is like, they're fighting cutely. They do. I'm in New York. Just visited. You're in New York? Or you just visited New York? Or are you just visiting Africa? I'm allergic to mold, mildew, dust mites, and cockroaches. Like, I can understand the allergic. That's like when you see a cockroach, that kind of allergic. But I'm just imagining you stepping on a cockroach and like going into anaphylactic shock. I don't think that's how it works though. Hey, fuck you! See, that scared the shit out of me. You can't do that. You want to go outside? Okay, I should have understood. He only does that when he has something to say, like I want to go outside. Yes. I don't know if that cut through the noise filter. I'm sorry if it did. I had an allergic test done and found all this out. Oh, what part of the cockroach did they put on you to know? Being allergic to cockroaches is weird to me too. Yeah, but again, like what part? Like if they run over you, do you have an allergic reaction? Is your skin gonna go like into a rash? Maybe I should stop asking questions. I'm sorry, who needs tears? We weren't supposed to investigate. Suddenly impromptu investigation. Love is true. It's nice having you friends here. We have streamed vertically long enough, I think. I shall show you a flower and then read you a poem and then read Jazil's comment first before I do all of those things. Allergic to dog and dust mites. I can't hug my dog nor let her on my bed. Yeah, that also doesn't happen. No getting on the bed or as I get itchy for the whole day. But sometimes I belly rub him and take antihistamines. Yeah. If it gets to the point where you have to take antihistamines, you know. Did you know that your heart is as big as your fist? And my heart should be around there. Go, 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 go. All right. I've never had one run or walk on me, so I'm not sure what would happen. Just like new fear unlocked. You know, that's so unfair. Who needs tears? Like you find out you're freaking allergic to cockroaches. What are you supposed to do with that information? Right? Like nobody likes cockroaches inside their homes, but now you're like allergic to them, and you know that. Then there are suddenly. What do you think about that? All right. You have witnessed. Now listen. The threshold of the new era. That's beautiful. Thank you, Who Needs Tears. This flower is so pretty. Oh, ciao. So much love to use. Never want. Do you know the rat dance? No. I can, in fact, say that I am unfamiliar with the rat dance. What I am familiar with is reading this poem, though. Boom. Threshold of the new era. We have walked through fire, hammered iron into empires, woven wires into whispers across the void. Each era a spark, flint against stone, steam into steel, silicon singing in circuits of light. Now the sum of every spark ignites at once. The wheel turns, but now it flies. The loom weaves, but now it thinks. The word spreads, but now it knows no borders. We are not just moving forward, we are leaping. Machines once made our hands stronger, now they stretch our minds. Once we wrote letters to the future, now we shape it in real time. This is not just progress, this is the threshold, where every path converges, where history folds inwards and launches outward in a single breath. We are standing on the edge of everything, not looking back, but forward, faster, further than we ever dreamed. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we're in the future now. We're there. Everything is happening right in front of us. And we can but be part of it. Right? You can't help but be part of it, but you can help how much you're part of it. Right? And the harder you reason, uh, the more you do in that way as well. Sometimes, depending on how you reason as well, right? If you can reason yourself into doing things, that's the best kind of reason, right? That's the most powerful kind of reason, like really getting up and doing something. You need some good reasons, right? Look for them. Look for them. The individual process, bro, let go. And it starts in the mind, the revolution begins. We don't have to argue with our parents. I try not to argue. I usually only try to share, right? Usually, from that perspective, it's almost like there's nothing to argue about. There is only me trying to share something, right? And the argument usually starts when there's like almost like fault to be found. It's like I share something, and then it's like, yeah, but isn't this like this bad or this thing? And I'm like, no, sure, maybe, right? Like you can like, oh, look at this new knife. It doesn't get blunt. Oh yeah, people are gonna be able to infinity kill other people. I'm like, ah, yeah, I guess. But also maybe they won't have to, sharpen their knives when cutting their food or whatever. Oh, jeeps. Yeah. Did you know that chickens are ancestors of dinosaurs? No. It's more like chickens are like the great great grandchild of dinosaurs. It's like more the other way around kind of vibes. It wasn't chickens first and then dinosaurs. It was more dinosaurs. But I do know what you mean. Yeah, like they're the same fractal. Burbs and dinosaurs, same, but different, but still the same. I super like how the black adds depth. The icy blues and pinks make a sharp highlight, like the peaks of a rigid mountain. I love that. I got deja vu with that poem. Yes, yeah, that's so awesome. Being able to generate deja vu, unlikely. Very cool. Very significant. I think I love deja vu. It's experiential. It's like, ooh. My zodiac sign is a Virgo. My zodiac sign is a Taurus. I wish making money didn't involve competition, us needing to deal with, think with, confront the system designed to put a monetary value on our achievements. I don't know how to, bro. Because I'm more okay with putting monetary value on our achievements than I am okay with putting monetary value on our lives. You heard what I'm saying? In other words, I am okay with a world where we still have to work and still have to earn extra income, but only if people are taken care of, right? And I have to surrender to the fact that it's not like that, and I still have to try and add value and earn an income, right? I feel like that's the thing that's kind of still hard for me to do. But again, right, in a world where we make sure, because again, it's not that expensive relatively to the entire system, to make sure people have food and a place to sleep and, water to drink internet access, right? It's not that, maybe some electricity. It's getting up there in expenses, but it's not impossible, right? Maybe 11, maybe 15% of our entire world budget. And again, that sounds like a lot. You see, the world's budget, 15%. But then again, then we're okay. Every single person is accounted for and okay. And then we can monetize our achievements or whatever, right? But only then should we. And unfortunately, we're already at the part of monetizing the achievements without having the base layer set, right? And that's what we have to get better at. And in that way, we're going to have to create little new peninsulas of reality, right? We're going to have to lean into new wants to be, right? Instead of being, as you said, uh, in the individualized process, you let go and start in the mind of revolution begins. But that revolution can only begin with minds coming together, right? So your mind will have to contribute to some sort of value system, and what that value system is going to be up to you to determine, right? You can believe that the only thing that's of value is gold, right? And then decide, I'm gonna go and work at McDonald's, and then I'm gonna earn my income, and then I'm gonna like go straight to the closest place I can buy pieces of gold, and I'm gonna like put my currency in that gold, and then I'm gonna have that gold for the rest of the month. And if you've been doing that since the 2000s, you technically be pretty well off. That's the joke. However, and this is the part where you might not be well off, or you might not have survived even. If you did that and you then had absolutely no income in your bank account, maybe your mortgage payment wouldn't go off, or maybe your car payment wouldn't go off, or maybe your credit card or your debit card wouldn't be able to actually swipe and pay for the food, right? And the McDonald's isn't going to take, a small little sliver of your gold bar. So again, right? Sure, you would have probably made money doing that, but you wouldn't have survived, right? Because that was not a system that was capable of existing in, if you will, right? And in that way, you could have been giving your effort to gold as a valuation, right? You could have like disindividualized and then made yourself a part of the revolution of gold, right? And you could have profited from that, being a part of that community. And in that way, we are, as you said, in a new era of togetherness. My cousin got married yesterday to his longtime partner. Bless, that's beautiful. Is orange a fruit or a color? It is both. What would we do if everything was cheap? Everything will be cheap, right? Because again, we have now created systems of actually true scarcity, right? Real scarcity. Software defined scarcity, right? In a way where it's impossible for you to, especially with the amount of energy that's been put into, change that. As gold's price increases, as it has, it's $3,100 a gram or an ounce. Like that happened, like it was like, oh wow, it went up $100, and then it went up another $100, and now it's up another $100. Right? So when that happens, a bunch of people, a lot of them, are like, bet, I'm gonna start mining gold. And anywhere there's gold to be mined, they will be able to create that value at dollars per ounce. Right? However, with software-defined scarcity, you can't do that. You can't make more. It is actually scarce. Actually, truly, really, really scarce. And in that way, right, the amount of gold, for instance, you can buy with a truly scarce currency, right, blockchain defined, gold will relatively become a smaller and smaller sliver of that. It depends as well where people put their money, right? they could also drive the price of gold up to 100 trillion instead of digital assets, but it's unlikely, right? What do you think is more likely? That the kids are gonna start buying slivers of gold, or they're gonna start using their cell phones? All right, that is technically the comparison we're making. All right. Oh yeah, buy this piece of yellow metal. Right, and then they have like tuck shop money, and then you show them how much piece of yellow metal they can buy, and they can buy like a literal grain of gold with all the money they can have for like sweets for the week. And they're like, oh, this piece of grain, this grain, nah, right? Versus I can put half of my sweets money into, Bitcoin or Cardano or whatever, and then maybe my asset actually, gains value. Maybe I can actually have some units, right? And relatively speaking, it's also technically granular, but on an interface level, it gives you something to look at, right? And we are now influenced by these devices. We have symbiosis. We are a part of the technological system. We are melting. Yeah. Exactly. It's the new era of togetherness. We are melting. I like that. Guys, I'm going. Bye. Thank you for spending some time. It was nice having you here, friend. We have Mohammed joining us too. We're just about finishing this vertical stream to set up the horizontal one. I have found our heart connection, expression. Love is possible. Love is inevitable, right? Love is inevitable. Love will arise eventually, even if it's love for something external, love for money, love for power, love for yourself, right? Love is still true in that way. You can't take that away from that power. It's just a matter of reason. That was what we considered today. I appreciate you for joining me. I'll see you on the horizontal one. We'll do a short little stream. See you in a moment. Goodbye, friends.